your Comedy Minute. I'm Scotty T. I've got a great young comedian with me, Anthony Reyes. How are you, Anthony?
How we doing, man? Good to be
I
here.
feel
Glad
like
glad for the invite.
Anthony. I feel like a woodpecker in a lumber yard. That's how I feel.
Well, I'm rock hard, man. Like wood.
Oh,
There we go.
whoa, whoa, whoa! Look out,
I'm
kid.
excited. I'm excited.
Oh,
I'm excited.
Anthony, I have a lot of stuff written down. You say you're from Funky Town, Texas.
Yes, sir. Funky Town, Texas, Fort Worth. There's a couple other names,
Is there?
Murderworth is it scares the Caucasians away,
Funky Town. So it's Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to give me some of the other names? What are some of the other names?
Fort Worth, Texas, Murderworth. It was the murder capital, I believe, like in '92 or '93, something like that. So
I was on the murder tour when I worked for BMG. It used to be Washington, D.C., and then they sent me to Detroit. And the day they sent me to Detroit, Detroit was named the murder capital of the world. So I'm
nice.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you bring that energy, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't responsible. I wasn't responsible. Anyway, so Anthony, were you born? Oh, and by the way, for folks who scored at home, Anthony's also known as the Tequila Tony, and I want to get into that in a little bit. But let's first start. Anthony, are you born and raised? Were you from Fort Worth, Texas?
Yeah, actually born and raised in Texas. I know I'm look Mexican, but I was born here legally. And I don't speak Spanish, which is kind of sad, man. It's like being white and having a low credit score. You know, it's
Oh,
also like
oh,
it's also like being black and having a small penis.
oh, he doubled down. White low credit score and black small penis. All right,
Yeah, it's
you
tragic,
Mexican.
man.
All right,
Tragic.
you Mexican. Don't try and hide that shit. Born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes,
Have you
sir.
have you been, have you traveled, to other areas? What's so other places you've been that you really like?
Uh, not many. I mean, I've been to Mexico a couple times, but the not
Okay.
speaking Spanish part kind of kicks my ass. I'm just following along. A lot of
No
rivers to
habla.
swim.
No habla.
No habla. Yeah, yeah.
Habla
But
Smith and Wesson. Habla Smith and Wesson.
yeah, exactly right. The Glock talks.
Habla Glock.
But
Um,
I've been
Go
to
ahead.
Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma, man.
Okay.
Because the weed's legal up there.
Oh, okay.
So
Your sound dropped out, Anthony.
what was that?
Your sound dropped out, but we can edit it out.
Oh, okay, my bad, my bad. No,
That's all
yeah,
right.
love Oklahoma, man, because the weed's legal up there.
Right.
Love to get my coke on.
Oh my
So yeah, man.
God, Anthony. Yeah, it's not legal here in Pennsylvania, but I somehow skirt
Yeah.
around that issue.
Hey, man. Well, they got all these kind of things like CBD, and now they got
Oh
THCA.
yeah.
There's loopholes. You know what I mean? There's
Well,
loopholes.
you know what I love though? I mean, I just saw something last night on the bath salts, which that
Oh,
yeah, and I've never told anyone this. This just happened a week or so ago. One of those marijuana CBD things actually said they wanted me to come and be a spokesperson.
oh, wow. Okay.
And I said, well, now hold on, pump the brakes there, guys. I'm in Pennsylvania. It's not legal in Pennsylvania. I don't think I can. Plus, I don't know that I really wanted to do it because that was my question is it synthetic bullshit? If
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
synthetic
Oh man,
marijuana,
you'll have the feds all up in your ass, man. It's
I,
not even
I,
worth
I,
it.
I turned it down. Well, let's switch back,
Good for
Anthony,
you.
because I want to
Yeah,
get,
yeah.
I want to get to your stuff. The Tequila Tony. Let's start there. How did you get that nickname?
So lucky enough, when COVID happened, I became a bartender and took a bunch of classes. I've actually done world-class bartending competitions.
Okay.
I've been sponsored by a couple reps and stuff like that. So I actually hate the nickname Tony, believe it or not. I hate it with a passion.
Oh, really?
People usually call me Ant. Yeah, but just talking to this, female one day, and she's like, "Oh, my old username sucked. It was Anthony Reyes, but after every letter, it was an underscore. So it was
Right.
horrible to search. I had to do something else, and she came up with Tequila Tony. She put it down, and I said, okay, that's cool. And people call me Tony now. I kind of hate it, but it's been catchy. So
Yeah.
it's been good with the
Yeah.
bartending and the comedy. You know what I mean?
Okay. I was hoping for a good tequila story.
No, man. Just a lot of drunk times. I used to hate tequila, but I realized we just used to get the cheapest stuff. Like, what can I get a gallon of for $10? It was like straight gasoline. The hangovers are crazy. Once I took classes, I realized which ones we should be drinking, like the 100% agaves and stuff.
Okay.
I've had some bad times on alcohol and bourbon. I black out, get drunk, I end up in a gutter. So tequila leads me the right way. It leads me in some pussy.
I brought it up because I don't know if you saw it. I told it on one of these a few weeks ago about my tequila story. I think it was with Cara Amore.
Okay,
My
and I didn't catch it.
My true story. My sister, no lie to you, right? True story. My sister came back from a trip, and she
Okay.
brought all these little airline bottles, and she had 2 or 3 tequila bottles, and they had the little worms in them. So,
Oh yeah.
Anthony, I drank and ate 2 or 3 of these bottles with the worms. And
Yeah.
when I woke up, I was in my underwear in the side yard, and I was full of mud. It was like
Oh no.
I tried to become Worm Boy or something. And that was the last time I drank tequila.
Oh man, yeah, I bet you were tweaking.
I,
those worms do something to you, man.
I think the worms is what did. I don't know what the hell did it. The
Oh
last thing
man.
I remember, Anthony, I went to bed. I was on the couch. I was fully clothed. And when I woke up, I was in my underwear in the yard. And the best part is the neighbors, it's like 7 a.m, and they got the kids in the car. Burp, burp. I'm waving. I'm in my underwear.
Oh, oh no, man.
Yeah.
See, I would have to move after that. I'd be so embarrassed. Oh man.
They knew what they were dealing with.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to, and I apologize. I saw Tequila Tony, and I thought, oh, I got to tell him the tequila story. But let's
Oh
get
man,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay. No, I love bartending, man, because I do see people get drunk off tequila, and there's nothing funnier than seeing people talk themselves out of some pussy at the bar. They can be like having a good time, and then too much tequila, and then they're like, oh yeah, and it gets real bad, man. It gets real bad.
Well, let's move to comedy, just because we haven't touched on much of it, although we're having fun. When did you start doing? Because I have some shows written down you got coming up. But when did you start doing? When did you start doing comedy?
It's a funny story because I had no intentions of doing comedy whatsoever.
All right.
I went to Fredericksburg for a private event for bartending. Right. I got invited out there to check out the distillery and stuff for Garrison Brothers, and it was very nice, very nice. Well, the last day they're like, hey, let's go to a comedy show. And I'm like, yeah, I'm down for that. And mind you, we've been doing quality control since about 8:30 in the morning, so I'm pretty drunk by the time the comedy show happens. And after the comedy show, after the comedy show, they're doing open mic, and I'm drunk, and I'm just like, yeah, I think I'm funny. I think I can do that, And so I went up there on stage, and I didn't have any material. I just kind of riffed it, and I'd recently gone through a breakup, so I was asking like, where are all my single people in the crowd? Where are all my single people? They gave a big round of applause, and I was like, you miserable fuck, you know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with you? I was like, why can't you find anybody? I think you're the problem. And and then after I shitted on the single people, I was like, where are my lovely, beautiful couples at that make the world go round? I really gassed it up.
Yeah.
And so that got an even bigger round of applause. And once they were applauding, I was like, you miserable fuck. Like, just leave already, Like,
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
So that went so well. The guy that was hosting the show, I went to go talk to him, and he invited me to another show the same night.
Okay.
Went to the other show, completely bombed that other show. I was horrible, man. Like,
Oh wow.
By this point, I was like hammered drunk. I took one of the electric scooters down there, so the cold winds hit my face, and I'm just, kind of disoriented. But I get there, and I have to wait for a couple more comics, and then I finally get on stage, and at this point, I'm thinking in my head like, oh, I'm pretty good, I guess. I'm trying to come up with some material, and
Right.
and I think crowds matter too. The first crowd was more happy, like, oh, we're having a good time. The second crowd was like, oh, you're funny? Show me you're funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, you make me laugh, and it was more challenging. And so I started bombing half my set. And then when it wasn't working, I went back to my old material. And at that point, I had just lost them. They were just like gone. And so I came back into town, though. I was just excited to have done it, because like I said, I had no material. I was excited to do it. Came back in town.
Let me stop you for a second. Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Fredericksburg, Texas.
Okay.
And then I'm sorry. So we actually ended up going to Austin for the for the comedy show.
Okay.
So it's maybe like an hour and a half away.
Okay.
And we were also supposed to go home at that point, but yeah, I forgot to say that. So
that's okay.
We went to Fredericksburg, but the comedy show was in Austin. So the open mic that I did was in Austin, Okay.
So now you're back in Fort Worth.
And I'm back in Fort Worth.
And you decide, you know what, I want to do this some more.
Yeah, man. I just kind of went out to do an open mic. I did a couple of them, brought a good crowd out. I started promoting like, hey, man, I'm doing this as a hobby, and I bartend too, so I can pull in a crowd. And then eventually,
you're hosting a summer bash coming up. A big one I saw on Facebook, and also you got a Mother's Day show coming up too.
Yep. Yeah, man. And we just did our first production.
I got it. Cockpit comedy.
Yeah, cockpit comedy, man. So it's funny because I've only been doing comedy for 3 months. Like, this happened in January when I started.
Right.
But like, it's been going so well, and like I guess I've been doing so well. I've been trying to get better at my writing. You know, there's always space to learn. But I think I attribute a lot of it to trauma. A lot. I think everybody deserves a little bit of trauma. It's called character building.
Well,
and, I've had a lot of.
I think the bartending probably helps too.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it all started for me in the 6th grade when I started selling CDs. I think that's what gave me my good communication skills. Because I was actually a horrible bartender when I started. I would get drunk every day at the bar. No. But I just, learning. But what helped me stay a bartender was my communications and how I talk to people. Sure. And then I took a bunch of just kind of like classes on what's what, like what kind of tequila is this, what kind of bourbon is this. And then after a while, like I built up my resume, and then I got, got pretty far in that. When I take something serious, I kind of go like 110% in, for example, the comedy. But I'm a big procrastinator, man. So if I'm not interested, like, I won't do it, so.
There's a Stephen Wright line. I don't know if you ever heard it. I procrastinate so much I got a birthmark when I was 7.
Oh, wow.
It's a Stephen Wright line. I don't want to take credit for that. But no, I think it's funny because I just did one. It just aired the other night. Joe Scrocca, and Joe started doing comedy in December. In other words, so you've only been doing it 3 months, 4 months. Joe started in December, and he was dating these girls, and he just had it, and he decided, I want to do something. And he's 63 years old, and he reminds me of you that he's confident, that he just doesn't. In other words, I've got one coming up tomorrow with a guy that's been a comedian for 20 years. And I'll be honest with you, I thought he was an arrogant asshole. Like he's the gift to, the joke police. Like he knows everything about comedy and I need to do this. I don't need to do shit, buddy. You know what I mean? And whether you're doing it 3 months or you're doing it 30 years, some people just have the ability to make people laugh.
Yeah, man. it's truly an art. You know, I truly believe that. You know, it's a craft. Um, and when it's authentic, I think it comes off a lot better. So, like, for example, when I first came back from Austin, I started trying to write some jokes down, you know, that I thought, you know, this is funny, this is funny.
Right.
And for some reason, I think when comics first start comedy, Hitler is the best topic to talk about. Like, oh, Hitler, you know, like whatever. So I just came up with a bunch of jokes, right? And was talking to a friend of mine, and she told me, like, those jokes are funny, but you need to talk about your life. Like, you'll tell us stories and you don't think they're funny. You think it's just a normal day, but it's fucking hilarious. And I was like, well, give me an example. She was like, you told me your dad sold you a stolen vehicle when you were young. Like, so nonchalant, like, and you didn't know it was stolen until you got arrested. And I was like, well, that's just what happened to me, you know?
That is a
like, no,
great
but that's
story.
fucking, yeah, she's like, but that's fucking hilarious. Like, you need to talk about that. And like, and so once I started like bringing my life into it, like, you know, well, I grew up this way, and it's almost like therapy for me, you know? I started talking about my life one day and people started laughing, and I was like, yeah, that is kind of funny, huh?
You know, Anthony, I got two points real quick. Number one, you said you wrote these Hitler jokes. Do you know
Yeah.
I have what 5,700 videos up on YouTube, and there's not one Hitler joke.
Oh, wow,
I don't
nice.
do any. I won't do any of the. I won't do any. You know, of the Jewish. You know, Hitler,
Yeah.
Holocaust. I won't do LGBTQRSTUVW. But I love a good rape joke. No, I do that. That's a bit I do, but no. And what I getting back to, and I got off just because I wanted to do that little bit for you.
Yeah.
No,
Well, I was gonna also say, my bad, I don't mean to cut you off. I was gonna also say, you know, they say joke about your real life. So if you rape or been raped, no, I'm just kidding. Anyways, I don't know.
no, it's a
I thought that was
no.
funny.
But Anthony, what's funny that you're mirroring the guy Joe Scrocca, that his material is about his life. He
Uh-huh.
talked about the first time he bought a prostitute, that he got a prostitute. That's how he ends his show. And
Nice.
his whole almost, I think most of his comedy is about things that happened in his life. And like
I mean, yeah, that's
you got my interest just by the girl that told you your dad sold you a stolen car. And is that
yeah.
true?
That is very true. And I didn't know until I got arrested, but I didn't get arrested because the car was stolen. I got arrested for something else. Like, the car hadn't got reported yet. It was just stolen. And
What
my dad was so pissed.
what
Because he was like, you weren't supposed to get arrested. That wasn't a part of like my master plan. And eventually he was going to let me in on his master plan.
what
It's been 6.
can you share with us what dad's master
It's been,
plan was?
well, I never found out. He's in a federal prison now, and it's been 6 years since I've
I'm
probably
sorry.
spoken
I'm
to him.
sorry. I don't know where to go with this,
So,
Anthony. I don't know
no,
what the hell. Yeah, but you know, I
he
think
got him.
I think the young lady's right, because to me the best humor is stuff that, like, for me, I remember one time not too long ago I did a bit. This is probably a couple years ago. I did a bit because I was on the phone for like 2 hours with Comcast or one Direct TV or something. And I did, in my opinion,
Okay.
one of the funniest bits I've ever done. It was a minute or two bit. Representative, Jesus Christ, representative. You know, me pounding on the phone, trying to get
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
on there. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, representative.
Yeah.
And it was just, to me, because it really happened. It just happened the night before. So I love that kind of humor.
It's what I think it is. It's like, when it's authentic for the person speaking it, they're more fluid and more confident in what they're saying. But
Yeah.
I've noticed, like, when I try to have something more scriptural,
Yeah.
and I go back and watch my videos, like, you can almost see my whole demeanor change when I go from like riffing it and fluid to like, now this is my joke, you know, and this is
yeah.
so yeah, so I try to be as like authentic as possible, and you know, I have a couple jokes here and there where, you know, I have this joke where I talk about going to a drag show, right? And I was young and I thought it was a drag race show, and then but I'm there for like 30 minutes, and then my girlfriend gets on stage. That's when I realized I've been fucking a dude for the last 3 weeks. But then I'll tell the audience like half of that story is true. I'll let you decide which half it is, you know, and like so.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
thinking back now, because again, for people that don't know, Anthony and I just met, you know, a half
Yeah.
hour ago or whenever we started this. And that opening bit you did about where all the single people and all of them clap, and then your
Yeah.
bit, and then all the married, I mean, that's just comedy gold.
Yeah.
I mean, that really is. I hope you're still including that in your act, because that's just, you know,
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, that's a great opener too. Because you
Yeah.
automatically are
Yeah.
involved in the audience, and what I've been told by different comedians is you get that first couple of minutes where you build up their trust, and they go,
Yeah.
"This guy's funny," and then you got him hanging on every word.
And from my experience, I've realized too that sometimes it isn't always the joke that makes the people laugh. Sometimes it's the engagement with them. You know what I mean? So if you can like pinpoint somebody and like talk about, you know, like, and make them relevant to your joke, now everybody's looking at that person, and now you have like everybody's attention and they're more engaged compared to like you know, if I'm just saying like, oh, these are my jokes, and like never really acknowledging my crowd, you know, just kind of going through it as emotion. Because I've done that before where like I try to go through it as emotion, and they're really not engaged. But as soon as I start like, you know, engaging them, then the crowd gets more lively, and it makes the vibe better. You know, it makes the energy.
The fellow that I aired last night talked about how he would just do joke, and then he realized, you know what? If I pause, and he said he's now worked it out where he pause when they're laughing good, he'll stop and wait for 5 or 6 seconds. And he said, for whatever
Yeah.
reason, then when I come with the next joke, they're ready, and they're, you know, they like reload, you know. So
Yeah.
I think that timing and everything, again, you've only been doing it 3 months. It's only going to get better.
Definitely. And I do have to practice, like, because I naturally talk fast.
Right.
So even when I'm doing my bit, sometimes I don't give them the pause that they need in order to get the full laugh. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I notice myself cutting too quick to the next subject or the next joke or whatever the case is. And so yeah, that is one thing that I've been trying to practice on as well, because I've noticed that. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, Anthony, do you plan on doing comedy now? Is it like in your
Yeah, man, I believe so. Like I said, I was offered to kind of take over somebody else's show that they had, but I was bringing in a lot of the crowd, and so I figured I was gonna start my own thing.
Okay.
So I luckily, since I bartend, I have good relationships with a lot of people. And there's this place downtown Fort Worth that I got in good with them. So we do free shows every Monday for like an open mic.
Anthony,
and then
we try. Anthony, go ahead and mention the club and everything. Do everything. This is all for you, man.
Yeah, man. The Red Goose Saloon, downtown Fort Worth.
Okay.
That's where we do our free open mics, and then we do pay. I'm right now the paid shows that I'm doing, I have them spaced out to like every other month or so, just because I need to get it rolling like a machine before we can do every month or something like that. And you know, promotion's a big thing. I'm out there passing out flyers, so like social media has been cool for me, but I think the face-to-face interactions that I get mean a lot more than like, hey, you know, because if you got like 5 big names coming to your city, nobody cares about like, you know, a kind of lower tier comedy show. You know, they're gonna want to go see the big guys.
Right.
But when you have that face-to-face interaction, then they can come out and see your stuff and realize like, hey, we have something to offer too. You know, so that's kind of the plan. I think for me also, like, I really didn't want to wait for an opportunity, so I kind of created my own thing. And I'm gonna go as far as it takes me. If you know, they say speak it into existence. I want to be obviously like a great at it. You know what I mean? But whatever the world has in store for me, man, I'm all ears, man. So I'm just going with the flow.
Well, I
Yep.
think, Anthony, because again, we just met and you probably haven't a lot of time. We just agreed to do this yesterday, but I worked in the music business all my life. I've worked with a lot of big stars. I've done
Okay.
more than I ever thought I'd accomplish. And people would say to me, I worked with, you name an artist, I don't care who, Whitney Houston, Tony Braxton, Cheap Trick, Kiss, name an artist, I've been with them. And people would always
Okay.
say,
Nice.
people would always say, my son can sing, or my daughter can sing, or I can sing. And I would always tell them, well, what's it take to get in the music business? And I'd say, drive and desire. If you have enough drive and enough desire, you can be a success. And it really is up to you, where it stops. If you lose one or the other, then it's going to stop. But as long as you have the drive and desire, I one day will be saying to people, I had Anthony on my show when he was just starting out.
Yes, sir.
I believe that in my heart, Anthony. I'm 61 years old, and I believe that in my heart. And that goes for musicians, that goes for anyone that wants to. And I'll tell you what, right now, the kids out there, if there's a study that like more than 50% of the kids out there today, their goal is to be a social media influencer. Now, realistically, there's going to be about 49% of those little bastards that are not going to be happy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it's like podcasts. Everybody and their brother has a podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like that market's it's dying.
It is, man. Even they even say comedy is dying too. They say, with all this
bullshit.
AI
You
stuff,
and I are going to save it, Anthony. You and I are going to keep it going.
That's what I'm saying, man. We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back, man. And I truly believe that, man. With determination and stuff. I actually have a bit where
Go ahead.
The beginning of the bit, I'll talk about psychedelics and how I have a friend and completely changed his life. And how one trip could change your life. And then I talk about how I went to Austin and did that thing, and like now I do comedy. Like one trip could change your life. And then I'll end the show by saying, like, I think everyone's capable of more than what they believe. You have to apply yourself to supply your wealth. The only limitations you have are those that you place upon yourself. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, one of the big things too about this comedy is like I love leaving a positive message. Like even though I talk about like, yeah, this is how I grew up and this is where I came from, I don't let that hold me back in any way. Like I think we're all capable of great things. You just got to believe it, and you just got to put in the work. I like luck's a real thing, but without preparation, there is no luck. Without having it ready, you know what I mean? Luck doesn't exist. So it's all about opportunity, man, and you gotta grab it.
I admire your go-getiveness already, and I think you're going to go far.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Do you have another one, a bit or two you want to do? Because we're going to run out of time. We only got about 5 more minutes.
Yeah, man. I just talk about, like I said, I grew up, my dad sold me a stolen vehicle. I kind of blame the area I grew up in. I grew up with a lot of junkies, undesirables, like not a lot of role models. But I don't think they're not that bad. I think they're right up there with Mexicans as far as work goes. They're very affordable. They'll do just about anything. You know what I mean? I actually got my whole chest tatted for $30 in a football jersey. It wasn't even a good football jersey. It was just what I had on that day, But the quality was good. I think it's like a junky 10, but like a regular 7. So for the price I paid, wasn't that bad.
Cool.
But yeah, man, like I said, a lot of it, I talk about that. I got one more for you. I don't know how you grew up or where you grew up, but I'm pretty sure, like, if in your neighborhood, if people graduated early, it's because they were highly educated, right? Probably going to college and stuff like that. Where I grew up, if you graduated early, it's because you were pregnant or going to prison. So it's just kind of the differences of.
Actually, Anthony.
But yeah, I got a couple more stuff, man.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
But Anthony, is there anything else you want to tell the people? You got the Cockpit Comedy, you got the Big Summer Bash, and you're going to continue working hard, every club, every open mic you can get, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do just want to say, if y'all want to go follow me at _tequila_Tony, that's THE_tequila_Tony. That's on Instagram.
Is that on Instagram, TikTok, all of them?
That one's on Instagram. And I'm slacking on the social media part. I need to come up with a YouTube page. I'll leave it in the comments or whatever.
I'll put the links to everything. And
I got you, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. And I'll help you in any way I can. I'm only a message away. But
thank you,
Anthony,
man. Thank you.
You know what time it is. It's
yes,
my
sir.
favorite
Yes, sir.
time. What time is it, Anthony?
It's the minute. The minute.
Your comedy minute.
Minute
Your comedy minute
yes,
with
sir.
Anthony Reyes.
Your comedy minute.
Go ahead,
yes,
Anthony.
So for me personally, the greatest movie of all time, hands down, Tropic Thunder.
I've had someone told me that before.
Yeah, man. From blackface Robert De Niro to Jack Black on heroin is the greatest movie of all time.
Right.
I don't even know if they could make anything to compare to that. My favorite scene, I would say, probably is when they're at the heroin processing plant and Jack Black grabs the 2 mounds of coke or heroin and he's like, "This is all I deserve." And then he farts and those guys laugh at him, so he rubs the heroin in their face and he's like, "Hurry. We only have 18 more hours before they wake up." Like, to me, that's comedy, right? That's comedy gold right there. Like, I love it, man. That's my favorite movie, hands down. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Anthony, that's perfect. You probably know by now, my favorite movie of all time, don't you?
I don't. What is it?
Harlem Nights.
Harlem Nights. Okay.
Have you ever
nice.
seen Harlem Nights?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but never in one sitting. But I get the gist of it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's there's so many. Red Fox, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, Reyes. There's just so many great actors. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, man.
But look, man,
all the icons.
Yeah. Do me a favor. Hang tight for a second. I'm going to stop the recording. Yeah. I only got a minute or two, but I want to hang out with you for a minute or two off the record. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Anthony, thank you so much for being here. And let's make a pact right now. I'm going to check back in with you in 6 months or so. And we're going to.
Oh, yeah.
Does that sound good?
Sir. Yes, sir. That's all right. Definite. That's a definite.
Cool. Hang tight. I just want to stop the recording. Thanks, Anthony.